So much for the heads up. Ha! I was muted. Thank you. Ah, feeling like an amateur today. I am an amateur. This is my, what, sixth video? Let me get OBS back where it needs to be, get kernel back where it needs to be. I've been sitting here talking to nobody except for myself for 11 minutes. No wonder that one guy bounced when I didn't say hello to him. I did. I swear I did. Anyways, like I was saying, normally I like to talk history, and I didn't realize that Apollo 1 was the one that burned up. I thought that was Challenger, wasn't it? I thought it was Challengers were the ones that was it. I guess Apollo 1 probably burned up too. I know they burned up a whole bunch of redstones. I talked about that in the earlier streams that we did, but yeah. Anyways, 7,000 Delta V should be enough. If it's not, we'll throw some boosters on it, run the mission again. We have a huge number of mods that are running a bunch of science editions, so those are all stuffed away in the service bay. Excuse me. Like I was saying earlier when I was still muted. Oh, that's right. The capsule, right? The oxygen-rich environment. Somebody made a mistake. They couldn't get the guys out. Was that the one? I thought that was still in the Mercury program. No, there was 3 guys in that capsule and it went bad when it wasn't there. Or that wouldn't have been Mercury then, or Gemini. Oh, it could have been Gemini. They were using a 3 capsule unit for Gemini, weren't they? I think. I don't know. Anyways, you're right, but I need to change the cat. We're going to save that out and see if I can't fix my flag right quick. I don't know why it didn't persist on save. That's right. Yeah, they had the pure oxygen thing. Yep. Yep. And then they wasn't it after that they added explosive hatches and everything for emergency exits and all that jazz too. Not just the atmosphere change. Look at that. It's still the cat. I changed the flag. I don't know why it didn't. It's still the cat. It's all right. Maybe the next rocket I build. I'm not going to build another rocket from scratch. I don't want to waste 13 minutes. It doesn't take very long to build this. Oh, we need to fix our staging. Everything else looks acceptable. So anyways, the real big trick to this bad boy is Kentucky Windage. This is the Kentucky Windage mission, if you will. Change flag at top of screen. Mission flag. Oh, is it done here? Ah! Look at that! You learn something new every day. Look at that. Bang! Cool. Is that Bit? Bit, you knew that one, huh? I didn't know you could change the flag. I only thought you could change it from the flagpole outside. Yeah, that looks a lot better. So, for those of you who don't know, Tipsy Raven is the name of my sailing channel. I'm very big into boating, and Tipsy Raven is the brand from that, and I've been trying to reuse that branding for this particular stream set. Probably any game that I play that has a ship-like atmosphere, I will use that branding if I can. Anyways, enough talking about it. Let's save it and launch it. I don't have custom action groups yet, I don't think. I don't have the upgrade. So we have 2 missions to run at this. We have to get intercept of the moon, which I'm not too worried about. And then I have to decouple my swivel engine and tanks from my poodle, which is this guy here. There's a TD-25 in here that's been scaled down with teak scale. Teak scale. Wow, can't speak today. And that's ready to go. We're going to not run this mission. I am playing life support. I'm glad I thought about that. Let me revert flight to assembly. I have life support enabled, and everybody would be dead halfway to the moon. That would be tragic. Where's life support? There's life support right there. I don't feel any particular need to bring life support back with me because it's not very expensive. So we're actually going to put it in the return stage here. Um, this is the waste container, and this is the supplies container. You just put one of each of those on there, and they could probably stay up for an additional. Wow, we lost 400 Delta V doing that. Oh, we might have to upgrade some boosters on this bad boy right quick. I just 600 and change. Just that's enough to get there. We got. Nah, man, I don't want to say that and screw up the mission. Boosters, it is. Y'all convinced me. Decoupling, structural, decoupling, hydraulics. Those are massive for this problem, but whatever. I want to know these big ass boosters get the hell away from me. Oop, that's not the right menu. Put some backs on this bad boy. Boop. Move them down so they're not so obnoxious. Get back on there. Gimme. Move them down so they're not so obnoxious. Boop. I don't look so bad. And then let's put some aerial nosy cones on there. And let's add some duct tape. More duct tape. That should work. And let's put our tower back together. 7-3. That'll do it. We have enough. Yeah, we have enough thrust. And then we're gonna move these up with the engines. So we have 1.42 to get us off the ground a little bit. That'll get us through some of the shite in atmosphere before we start burning our main engines. So that's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. I'm pretty happy with that. And we had to do that because we added these life support canisters on here. Oh, thank you for reminding me. I guess I reminded myself. Photovoltaics. We want to know that we have electricity when we get back to the ground. Oop. Oh, actually, you know what? I want to move these slightly down so they don't block those panels. 7,002. I'm okay with that. $75,000 rocket, which is gonna use almost half of my money, but that's okay too. Yeah, we're good to go. Are we good to go? We're good to go. So, I don't know who's still watching, but Bit's already seen this trick. I do a Kentucky windage launch to the moon. It's a straight up run because the moon's on the same inclination as the space station relative to the surface. So if you just go straight up, you are golden. To go straight up and hit the moon, what we do is we take the moon when it's right at the horizon relative to our shuttle. Right now the moon's below the horizon, right? Horizon's about here. So we're going to time warp to get to our launch window. And the moon is visible on the opposite horizon now. So we're going to warp this up a little bit. The moon's dead above. And about right there, I bet you she'd be close to the top of the space station. Or the VAB. So what I do, the trick to this is I move my camera until it's right at the horizon. You'll notice that like it shifts and starts looking up as opposed to panning around. You put it right there, shift it over to one side. You take this moon, and you put it basically bisecting the top of the VAB. So we're just going to time warp to that window. When we burn straight up from right here, we'll get an intercept. In fact, I bet you we'll get an intercept right around 11.7 million meters. It's going to be my target. That's what I'm going to raise to. So we put it right at the bisection, right about there. We'll tell the mech to just shoot us straight up. We're going to throttle up now so we don't forget to throttle up later. Double check everything is good to go. I'm not feeling uncomfortable about anything. Jeb, are you feeling uncomfortable? Too bad. And let those boosters get us off the ground a little bit. I think we need more thrust. They don't have enough pizzazz. The reaction wheels are working overtime. It'll probably stay together long enough to get to the liquids. Better get the liquids active before we dump the solids. Just like that. And now we'll dump the solids. There we go. A little. SAS is being done by Smartass right now. And I don't do RCS. There's no RCS on this rocket at all. I only use RCS for landing missions and docking missions, and there's nothing to dock with in space currently. So, get rid of those engines. And this, I just literally burned straight up. There's nothing to this mission. We're just gonna burn straight up to 11.7 million meters, and by the time we get there, the moon will be there. In fact, I have to be careful because a couple of times I have time warped this and smashed right into the moon. Perfect bullseye from 11 million meters away. So you gotta be a little careful with this launch. There's the next asparagus stage is gone. So we're basically out of the atmosphere at this point, and we have 3 of our primary engines left to get us up to the moon, which is not shabby at all. We'll actually get there probably with a fair amount of this fuel left. So this engine's likely a little over-engineered. Getting a little bit of a shake in it now that we're into a vacuum. I'm not entirely sure what that's about. I'm not really sure what that is over there either. Looks like debris. I don't know why it's so far off to one side, but whatever. And we just burn up. We just burn up. There's nothing to it. Like I said, by the time we get that high up, by that amount of time passes, that moon will come over and see us. So, do we have warp assist yet? We do have warp bumper. That's good. And we can get rid of that last asparagus stage. Rain all that nasty down onto the space center. They'll be fine. Normally, you know, you would do some sort of gravity burn on your way up and be out over the water and dump all that stuff off, but whatever. I'm a dirty Kerbin. I dump all that stuff right down on my own head. So we're at 1.9. We're going to start throttling it back because I don't want to blow past my target. Remember, our target is 11.7 here. It's at 2.6 right now. Bump it back up here and keep climbing. This stream, like I was saying earlier while I was still muted, so thank you, Nebiluke. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I can't really see your name from where I'm sitting. Almost went past my numbers. This stream is just to do a flyby of the Mun while I'm on launch here. So 11.7 million meters, and I haven't looked at the conics, but I'm betting, I have encounter. I have actually a really close encounter, 71,000 meters. So, which is a good number for doing a high orbit science, which is exactly what we want. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then when we re-exit the moon, we'll just circularize a little bit, burn down until we're in a close circular orbit, deorbit, and come down for a landing. That'll be today's mission. So the very next step, whenever I'm running these missions, I always use the capsule's energy as our backup power. And so I mute that. I turn off the batteries to the capsule. We still have all these batteries out here, and frankly, we have all this potential here still. So on our way back down, we're going to perform that other mission to decouple it between 300 and 310 million, or 300,000. So 300 km. Yeah. So we'll do that, and then we'll use this return stage here to deorbit the rest of the way. So not a lot for it. I like to turn this on while I'm doing warps, just so I can exit a warp if I need to. And we'll turn the warp helper on, kill mech jeb options, and SOI, sphere of influence, and we're going to warp to that. Oh, we can turn off liquid fuel notices. So this will automatically warp us to 1 minute before the sphere of influence transition. So we're transferring from the Earth influence to the Moon's influence. Now, granted, there's still influence, obviously, tides are a thing. But this gives us an opportunity to. Oh, look at that! We're getting a little gravity burn, or a little gravity assist off the moon. That's fun. We could circularize really easy here. We could do a capture, and because of how tight this looks, I guess we'll see when we get. I would get additional. Science. Oh, I don't have maneuver planning. I don't feel like there's a need to do that this particular flight, because I got to do it anyways for my landing mission. So I'll get the science done. More than enough science from this run to get what I need, I'm sure. The only thing that sucks is I should have put a camera inside of this thing. Just going to go through and grab all the science off all these units. That's everything I can see from this angle. Let's switch over to this side. We'll grab the crew report. Close this bad boy back up. Close the doors on this guy. I don't think I can EVA yet, can I? Nope, I didn't upgrade that yet. Probably a good thing, because this thing's so expensive. Yeah, not much for it. That's it. That's everything, I think. So we're just gonna say hi to the moon at high warp. Because we're going to go to the other sphere of influence, and we're not going to give it any 0 seconds. Alright, we're going to warp. So that's how close we got to the moon without looking. We just shot it and went. Not too bad at all. We'll come out the other side here of this particular sphere of influence. The rocket's going to come around for some unknown. Oh, surface up. I see. Okay, and so at the apoapsis, we're going to burn prograde because our periapsis is below the horizon of the planet, which will crash us into it, obviously. So we're gonna. Where's my orbit info? Oh, it's buried underneath. Yeah, it's -400, so we're crashing down into the surface pretty hard here. So at apoapsis, we're going to burn prograde to bring our periapsis up to 305,000, so we can run that one mission we have, and then do a retro burn at periapsis to bring our apoapsis down to 305 circular eyes, and then use the reorbit stage to bring us down the rest of the way. So at apoapsis, which I still don't have maneuver planning, it's a real pain. Apoapsis is in 3 hours and 42 minutes, so needless to say, we're going to warp to that. But why am I tracking to the moon? I don't want to track to the moon. I want to track to you. Whatever. Okay, seriously. Why is my focus all messed up? Oh, man. That's a real pain. So we'll just warp until we're 1 hour from apoapsis. Yeah, you'll see with those large life support units on there, we're not going to barely put a dent on them. We'll stop warp so we can do our realignment. While you're warping, you can't physically move the rocket around and such. So, and if we had maneuver planning, we could plan out our nodes, point the rocket in the right direction relative to the node at that time, not where we're at now, but that time. So the rocket's aligned for it before we ever even start warping. Kind of a neat feature. We need to warp down to about a minute. So we'll do that right quick here. We're watching this timed of apoapsis number here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're basically on the horizon, so we're not going to gain any apoapsis doing this. We're going to use this main engine, burn our periapsis up. And we're going to burn it up to 305. So we're not just going to orbit the planet. We're going to get a little higher. So we can perform that one mission we have. That was a little too much. Retrograde. Engine had just a little too much oomph. We can fix that by killing the amount of thrust that we have possible. So now our 0 to 100% only works inside this range. So a little bit more fine control. That's good enough. All right, and so retrograde. The rocket's got enough reaction wheels. We'll just warp to periapsis. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it we're going to want to warp to our periapsis, and we're going to give ourselves 5 minutes lead time, right? So that we have plenty of time to move the rocket around and decide how much of this engine we want to utilize. We're also going to increase our thrust, or remove our restrictors, so that we can perform this burn. Again, the goal, because I noticed we have a couple new viewers, it's still focusing on the moon. That's really frustrating. It doesn't let me refocus on the ship. The goal is, we're in an extremely elliptical orbit, out above the moon right now, actually, and we want to be in a circular orbit at 305 for this mission here. We want to do this test, and then we'll use our remaining stage to burn the rest of the way back down to the surface. So we're going to use this warp helper from MechJeb, and just perform our warp. There's nothing for it. Let's just do it. Let's do it. Do it. Again, look, we're following the moon. It's so frustrating. I don't know why I can't switch my focus target to the space shuttle. It's really frustrating, actually. Alright. So we want to be retrograde, which it's working on. We have 50 seconds of burn, which means we want to be 25 seconds to either side of the periapse, right? If we use all 50 seconds to get down, if it takes all 50 seconds to burn our apoapsis down. Excuse me. So we're going to get rid of the warp helper for right now. We're going to get rid of the resource monitor. Probably getting pretty close. There it is, right there, yeah. So I'm going to do a manual warp with the keyboard and just get us to within 40-ish minute-ish seconds of the periapsis here. Nothing like watching paint dry, right? Oh, come on. All right. You can't use keyboard inputs when you're hovered over MechJet windows. Just word to the wise. So we're going to burn down pretty hard here, see if we can't get... We're at 3.3 million meters on our apoapsis still. .8, 0.7. Our periapsis is dropping because we're not quite to it. Getting down in numbers pretty quick here. Kill the engines and come at it a little bit slower. Z and X. Yeah, I use X to kill my engines regularly. It's actually pretty common for me to do that. I'm gonna have to fix my. I only have to be. Right now, I could decouple and it would work. So it says to perform the test, activate the part through the staging sequence when all test conditions are met. All test conditions are met. This is the part. We're gonna double check that. This should be a TD25, which it is. So we're going to end up leaving this debris in space to do this, but worth it. So that mission is done. We're going to turn... Oh, we are retrograde. So on this stage, what we're going to do is we're going to burn down to about 100. So our periapsis is going to drop now because we're at apoapsis. And all I'm doing is slowing us down a little bit. Plenty of fuel for this maneuvering, right? So at periapsis, right, I'm going to go ahead and burn down to about 40,000 kilometers. 40,000, and that'll perform an aero brake to bring us the rest of the way into atmosphere and bring us down nice and easy. So let's bring our warp helper back, and periapse. Yeah, periapse. We want to be 1 minute lead time on periapse. Warp. Okay, and we're going to land somewhere between half and 3/4 of whatever our periapse ends up being right here. So we're going to burn retrograde, and now our apoapsis is dropping. We're shedding, we're removing our speed right now by burning retrograde. And we want to get this down to around 40 to 50. That's 40 to 50 kilometers off the surface at sea level. It's a very important thing to know. I don't know why we're... Whatever. As long as one of them's 50, I don't care. This rocket can survive a surface landing as opposed to a water landing. There you go, 40-50 right there. At this point, we definitely have recapture when we finally get back in, so I'm going to turn the rocket up, because when I decouple this, it'll send this stage with our batteries and our solar panels and our life support, but we have plenty of life support still in here, right? There's food, water, oxygen, so forth and so on. So this is only the life support needed to get to the moon and back, as well as these things, because the other thing we're going to do is enable the batteries on this guy when we decouple this guy. So that's all gone. We're going to turn this surface velocity minus, so it presents the heat shield to the direction of travel. We're going to turn the batteries back on in this guy, so that we have the ability to run those reaction wheels as we perform the landing. Now that's being shot down towards the surface, so it's going to be in a completely different re-entry path than what we're in, so we don't have to worry about that smashing into us as we come down. It's really uncommon, but it's always a unique pain in the ass when you get smashed into by your own descent stage. We don't really need the warp helper anymore for anything. We'll just close all this out, and nothing for it but to accelerate time and get back into the atmosphere. When we re-enter the atmosphere, we're going to re-enter physics warp. So we're in physics warp mode now. So we'll go ahead and do that. Oh, it looks like we might get a water landing. Maybe not. We're still traveling pretty good. We'll probably be over the water here and back into land pretty quick. And so we're watching our apoapsis right now. When the apoapsis drops below 70, we know that we're not going to ricochet off the atmosphere and do another orbit. But with our periapsis being down at 47, I believe that's our Apollo Not 1 debris. Thanks to Neville Luke for mentioning the history of Apollo 1. And like I was saying, once our apoapsis is below 70, we know that we're not going to get a ricochet. Not a ricochet. The ricochet is not the right word for it. It's more like a skipping stone over water. We're traveling too fast to sink into the liquid, or the atmosphere rather. So, right here is our re-entry, bang, just like that. And now we are back inside the atmosphere entirely, and decelerating aggressively as we look like we're going to end up with a surface landing. Hopefully not in those mountains. That'd be unpleasant. Kind of curious. We can always check the map to. No, we can't because I'm focused on the moon. Okay, well, what will be, will be. Really kind of curious why, and I don't know if you noticed, but when I click on the celestial bodies, like I'm clicking, you can see I'm moving and clicking. Nothing. No menus, no interactions whatsoever. Maybe like the shift key is stuck on my keyboard or something, I don't know. So this is a 4-day mission, probably because it shot me into a higher orbit. Should have been like 3 days. 4 days in space for Mr. Jebediah Kerman, who will more than likely get a level up for having done this, which is fun. A little bit of attitude control problems. We'll get the drogues out right now. We'll decelerate time. Make sure everything is stable-ish. No need to maintain any specific attitude control, because the chutes will, they create a drag that holds the rocket in a certain orientation. Presuming you put your chutes in logical locations. If you put chutes on both ends, the rocket will come down on its side. But in this case, we're going to bring the rocket down on its heat shield, which, if we do run into the surface with a little bit of speed, hopefully we only lose the heat shield and not the science platforms that are behind it. Our true altitude, we're in the mountains, so I'm just going to bring this guy up right quick. Our true altitude is 3.2, so our drogue should deploy at 2.5. There we go. So that'll slow us down a little bit. And then at around 1, I'll go ahead and deploy the other chutes so we're not waiting as long. Actually, you know what? I'll deploy them now and just warp some time. There goes all that and all that. Kind of curious what biome I'm in. think this mod pack has engineer in it, but I don't see. There it is. I think there's a. I think engineer will tell you what the. Oh, I have to put one of them on my rocket. That's right. Excuse me. 300 above the surface. We're up in the highlands, I think, because we're still 800 meters above the sea level. 100 meters above the surface, 70, 60, 50. We're going to stop the time warp so we don't physics warp into the surface. It's gotten a lot more stable lately, but back in versions 1.1, 1.4, physics warp was sometimes very unreliable when it comes to encounters like this. So we're back on the surface, no problems. I'm not going to worry about doing EVAs because it's only like 3 science or so. And so that is our first Apollo mission. Our Apollo missions are to visit the moon. So this particular mission took us into space high above the moon. We did not achieve full orbit. We just did a flyby, which is what our missions called for. So we have no active contracts at this point. We just satisfied both of them. We have 5 tourists. Flyby, moon, orbit, flies, flyby, 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 flyby. So I'm actually going to pick this mission up. This mission, I will build a different passenger rocket that runs on the same exact platform as the one we just ran. The point being is one of these guys pays for that rocket and then some. And I know there's 5 of them. And if I fail it, I'll take a pretty hard. I wish it wasn't 5. I wish it was 4. I wonder if there's any other. Yeah. It's really not worth it. Even if I gotta fly a double just to run the 5th guy up, I guess I could put him in the pilot seat and remote control the rocket. That seems weird to do. Either way, I need the money to upgrade my systems and make sure I can run the next science. This is clearly my next primary mission, science from around the moon, because we're going to do low orbit next. So we're going to grab that. Science from the surface of the moon is a logical mission to pick up. And this is definitely going to expire before we get a chance to get there. But we have 716,000 credits to work with now. More than enough to perform 2 primary objectives I have. The first being the upgrade of this guy, which allows me to get additional missions. So we're gonna pick up that mission because we know we're gonna do that. Oh, this is a really stupid simple mission. Sack separator at the launch site. It's so simple that I don't even know running it makes sense, but we're gonna grab it. Oh, look at that. Mark 1 command pod test. Definitely do that one. Anything landed at Kerbin is totally worth doing. Rendezvous 2 missions. So there's your Gemini. Part 2 vessels in orbit around Kerbin, and then rendezvous them together. 32,000 for doing it. The parts to put docking ports on rockets cost 7.5. So is this worth it? No, it's not. But that's okay. And then nothing here I also want to grab. So we have a bunch of ferrying to do for a pile of money, which is going to be handy. We have science from around the moon, or from the surface and from around, and a couple of platform launch or pre-flight tests of a separator and the pod itself, which they're just pennies, but they give some science and prestige. So I like picking those up. We have a notable amount of science and an appreciable amount of money to work with. We're not upgrading you. We don't need to upgrade you, but this is the one I want to upgrade. This will get me access to the next tier of science. And resource transfers for building space stations. And we get EVAs for doing this, which would give us additional science. So we're going to grab that, and we're going to grab this, and we have 141 left to do. Our ferry missions. Our ferry missions, of course, supplying the cash to perform the next series of rocket launches to the moon. So I'll make the people happy while also paying for the mission set. That's career mode for you. But the big one, the next one's the unlimited upgrade, which is cool. I'm really excited for this upgrade. Custom action groups. Oh, you have no idea. But now that that's done, we can go up to 500 science, which I believe takes us these two tiers here. And this one, the Mark 1-3, is what I like to build landers on, surface landers for the moon. So that'll be a logical upgrade that we want to grab. Also interested in picking up this science and this science, which gives me the ability to build ladders and various things to make it easy to get on and off the rockets. As well as this science down here for our solar panels that we need. So that's 320, 410, and up here, sometimes I like to build landers on these really tiny liquid fuel engines. If I put enough of them on the rocket, they can be surprisingly effective to safely land a rocket. Not my go-tos usually, but sometimes I like to build mini landers on those. This lander will not be light on account of the fact it's going to have all that science on it. So more than likely I will be using the radial engines, which I believe I already have. These are monopropellant based, I believe. Yeah, those are monopropellant. I use a lot of monopropellant too. I haven't experimented with doing monopropellant launch or landings. Yeah, I mean, there's obvious use cases for these guys. That's not a bad little rocket. I don't know. We have to run the close encounter, which our current rocket already has more than enough delta V to do that, which will give us a little bit more money and a little bit more science to button up the last couple of things we need. Then we can figure out exactly what we have to spend prior to our landing stage. My lunch hour is over here. I got to get back to work. So I thank you all for going with me on this journey to the moon on the Tipsy Raven space program inside Kerbal. I hope that you all enjoyed your time with me watching this rocket launch. If anybody wants to learn more about what we're doing here, I have a short little blurb on the Twitch channel. I got to refine that in a little bit. And I will be streaming again more than likely on Sunday, as I have some social obligations tonight and tomorrow to see to. So with that, I bid you all adieu, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.